Today, Donald Trump becomes the first former president to be arraigned on federal criminal charges. Trump is going to arrive at federal court in Miami and be arrested and arraigned on 37 counts, alleging he hoarded classified documents at his Mar-a-Lago resort containing the nation's most sensitive secrets. Trump is expected to plead not guilty. And then he'll board a plane back to New Jersey, where he is scheduled to speak tonight. Eyewitness News reporter Derek Waller live in Bedminster, where Trump will deliver those remarks. Derek, good morning.
Shirlene, good morning. That's right. Trump is expected to be back here at his Bedminster Golf Club later tonight after answering to those incredibly serious federal charges that could land him in prison if he's convicted. The 37-count indictment includes charges like willful retention of national defense information, conspiracy to obstruct justice, and making false statements, revealing an elaborate scheme to hide those top secret classified documents from the government, even getting his own lawyer to make statements to investigators that they say Trump knew was false. The 45th president arrived in Florida on Monday. He spent the night at his Doral Golf Club in Miami, just a short drive from the courthouse where he will answer to those charges. Now, pictures released by investigators show stacks of boxes stashed in that bathroom, a ballroom, and other unsecure locations. Prosecutors say Trump is on tape admitting the documents were not declassified. Still, in a radio interview, he maintains his innocence.
The day I came down the escalator, I've been fighting these guys off. I just say not guilty. I didn't do anything wrong. Did nothing wrong. Presidential Records Act. It's not even a criminal event. There is no criminality here.
Biden, Pence fall into one category, which is it was a mistake. It was an error. If Donald Trump had turned over, as he did, some of the initial documents, we wouldn't be here.
And I can also tell you that Trump's personal assistant, former U.S. Navy veteran Walt Nauta, he is also facing charges after prosecutors say he moved those boxes around the property to hide them from investigators and then also lied about it to the FBI. Reporting live here in Bedminster, New Jersey, I'm Derek Waller, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
Derek, thank you. To South Florida we go now on what we can expect today. Let's go to ABC's Aaron Katursky outside of federal court in Miami. Aaron, thanks so much for spending time with us. You know, so much to get to here. But as Mr. Trump is in the middle of this campaign, and I think about the presidential election now less than 18 months away, do we have a sense of how long this case is expected to take to come?
The special counsel, Mike, said that he wanted to push for a speedy trial, and he said he'll do that. But it really is up to former President Trump and his legal team. One of the hallmarks of Trump's legal strategies over the years has been to delay, and here it may be in his interest to try to push this until after the election, when he thinks or hopes he may be president again and could just make this go away. There's another complication too, Mike, and that's the presence of classified materials. At least one of former President Trump's legal defense team members is going to have a security clearance, and classified documents by their nature complicate the discovery process, what evidence the prosecution is going to have to turn over to the defense. So that could complicate things and just elongate the prosecution.
That is an interesting component to it, Aaron, no doubt about that. And we understand that this first hearing will be in front of a magistrate judge, but the judge appointed to hear this case is a Trump-appointed judge, Eileen Cannon. What do we know about Judge Cannon?
It's really an amazing dynamic when you think about it, Mike. A criminal defendant appearing eventually before a judge owes her career to him. But today it is going to former President Trump's initial appearance, possibly entering a plea of not guilty. Once it gets before Judge Eileen Cannon, she's someone who stirred controversy earlier in this investigation when she made a series of rulings favorable to Trump after the FBI raided his home in Palm Beach. Eventually, a federal appeals court rebuked those rulings, overturned them, but it already has raised questions of whether the prosecution will try to get her to recuse herself.